Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. I agree with the ICC that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested and tried for his crimes.
All right, wow, I am stunned. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani just sent a powerful message to the Benjamin Netanyahu administration, to the Trump administration, and to any spineless politicians in the United States who still refuse to have moral clarity about the human rights abuses being carried out in Gaza, in the West Bank, now in Lebanon, Beirut, Iran, all due to Netanyahu's far-right cabinet and all due to the way that Benjamin Netanyahu operates. So, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, once again, leading the Democratic Party with moral clarity about these issues by coming out and saying, Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. It is a 2-minute long video in which he lays out the crimes that Netanyahu has committed, and he's only scratching the surface. Netanyahu is getting increasingly unpopular in his own country of Israel, ahead of an October election where he'll likely be voted out. He is set to come to the United States in September for the United Nations General Assembly, and he is going to speak in New York City. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani has been, flirting with the idea, saying that he's going to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he steps foot in New York City. And people have been wondering, do you have the legal authority to do that? Does he have the ability to do that as the New York City mayor? Can he exercise international law? And that is the question that he answers in this video. And that is what has all of MAGA incredibly scared. Here is Eric Trump a few months back talking about Mayor Mamdani.
He hates Israel. He wants to, imprison Netanyahu. He's been pretty vocal about that. He doesn't like the Indian population. He's literally gone after Modi and said that Modi was a war criminal. He's come out and said he wanted to defund the NYPD over and over, so he hates law enforcement. I mean, who does this guy appeal to, right? I mean, he's going to put our city into a state of absolute chaos, even worse than it frankly has been over a period of time.
Crime is down since New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani took office. All of this fear-mongering about hatred rising, about the NYPD being defunded, do you think he's out of his mind? Do you think that Mayor Zohran Mamdani is out of his mind? He's just going to come in and defund the NYPD? He cares about safety, he cares about security, but he also cares about the average experience of New Yorkers. The fact that New Yorkers can't afford things. The fact that international law is being violated and families in New York are having to watch this every single day.
And it is so unbelievably sad. Then he comes out with these crazy proposals. He wants to nationalize supermarket chains. You have some of the greatest executives in the world who run supermarkets and barely make any money with them, yet the city of New York is magically going to make it work? I mean, Martha, it's a joke. Everything about it's a joke.
But
we have the greatest city anywhere in the world.
I hear you, but he's ahead in this poll.
Look at the direct fear-mongering coming from Fox News and Eric Trump. This was before Mayor Mamdani had won, before he was even mayor-elect and now a successful mayor. And look how it's turned out for Eric Trump. Eric Trump is having to use the corruption of his father to make money, while Mayor Mamdani is passing free pre-K for 2-year-olds, balancing the budget, making sure that rent is frozen in certain parts of the city, making sure that things are working for New Yorkers. And guess what? That pisses Donald Trump off. Donald Trump does not want you going after his buddy, war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu, who is currently starving Gazans. And I feel like people don't talk about the West Bank enough either. In the West Bank, there's a lot of unlawful killing, excessive force, settler violence. The state, in a systematic manner, tries to expand their settlements, harm, kill, rape, hurt, shoot Palestinians in the West Bank, and it's like a forced displacement of a massive amount of people. There's apartheid-like discrimination and segregation in the West Bank, as Mayor Mamdani points out in just one moment, and here's Donald Trump coming out defending his war criminal buddy, Benjamin Netanyahu. He says, Netanyahu will not be arrested in any way, shape, or form while in the United States of America. He is fighting against the Islamic Republic of Iran, which recently killed 52,000 innocent protesters, and has spent the last 47 years killing American soldiers. Well, by the way, they just killed 3 more American soldiers in Jordan. At first, it was 2 dead, 1 missing, but now we have confirmed moments ago that a 3rd soldier had been killed, and the U.S. has been covering up the death toll and casualty toll, according to the New York Times, because they just can't bear the bad PR. To continue, Scott Jennings responded to Zohran Mamdani threatening to arrest Netanyahu and said, "Just spitballing here, but it might be because he hates the Jews." Dog, you can't just keep weaponizing the term anti-Semitism. I want to be very clear. Anti-Semitism does exist. It's a huge problem on the far right with these far-right, white nationalist, white supremacist groups. There's also people on the far left who I've seen be anti-Semitic. It is something that we should push away, push back on, and bigotry should not be allowed in the movement. However, saying that Netanyahu is a war criminal because he kills, maims, and discriminates Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza, that is not anti-Semitism, and you are just weakening the movement, Scott Jennings, by doing shit like that. But his movement is one of war crimes and defending endless wars. Of course, Netanyahu calls Donald Trump his best friend when he visited Palm Beach, Florida in December.
Question, Mr. President, can you expound on the importance of a strong relationship with the State of Israel? And Mr. Prime Minister, you called President Trump the strongest friend for the State of Israel. You've worked with numerous administrations, numerous presidents. Can you expound on that and what makes President Trump such a strong friend for the State of Israel?
Why don't you go first?
I'll say it again and again and again. We've never had a friend like President Trump in the White House. It's not even close. And I think you can judge that by not merely by the frequency of our meetings, but by the content and the intensity.
Bro, Lord have mercy. Now we come to Mayor Zohran Mamdani calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal and calling on this administration to arrest him according to international law.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. He is responsible for the killing of more than 73,000 people, for the maiming of tens of thousands of children as those who survive undergo amputation without anesthesia, for the targeting of neonatal hospitals and maternity care centers, denying newborns even the chance to live, for the countless people he starved as he blocked food and humanitarian aid from reaching them, for the gunning down of hundreds of aid workers and journalists. And just last month, the UN confirmed that Palestinian children continue to be deliberately targeted and killed by Israeli armed forces, more than 8 months after the so-called ceasefire. The list goes on and on, all as we, as Americans, pay for the bombs that do the killing. There is a reason the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for his arrest. As human beings, we have spent generations building a shared understanding that there are crimes so grave they offend all of humanity. Anyone, with their eyes, with their heart, with their conscience, should recognize the devastation he has wrought and understand that he belongs before a court of law. As I've said, I agree with the ICC that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested and tried for his crimes, as I do for anyone else charged by the ICC. My administration has reviewed every avenue available under applicable law to determine whether New York City could execute the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant if Benjamin Netanyahu came here. It is clear that we do not have the independent legal authority to enforce this warrant. The federal government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant. And I want to be equally clear. Benjamin Netanyahu is not welcome in New York City, nor is any other war criminal at large. While we cannot end the genocide on our own, we can decide whether our silence will become another weapon, and we can examine every tool we have to defend the humanity and dignity of all people.
It is certain that Benjamin Netanyahu will be protested when he comes to New York City, as he is not welcome in New York. There is Zohran Mamdani creating the permission structure for other Democrats to come out swinging and come out against Netanyahu visiting. That is him placing pressure on any politician with a spine in the United States, which they are rare, there are far and few between, but there are politicians out there who are calling this out. Senator Chris Van Hollen is calling it out. Ro Khanna is calling this out. Mayor Zohran Mamdani, of course, Representative AOC, of course, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. We have a lot of people calling this out, but we need to create the permission structure to call out the West Bank settlements, the genocide in Gaza, and all of the crimes that Netanyahu has committed. Mayor Mamdani coming out with a lot of clarity there, and it's after Benjamin Netanyahu shows none himself.
Bombarded by the terrorists in Tehran against innocent civilians, you see the difference. The tyrants of Tehran target civilians. We target the tyrants of Tehran to protect civilians.
They literally have killed a bunch of civilians in Iran, and I am the last person to ever defend the Iranian regime, but the Iranian people do not deserve to be slaughtered. Also, what about the innocents in the West Bank and in Gaza? What about the innocent people in the West Bank who have had their homes stripped away from them? Here is a ranting and raving Trump a few weeks ago at the G7 admitting that he had a little dispute over Lebanon with Netanyahu and then diminishing Israel.
We had this deal done. You had a deal that was going to give them legally a nuclear weapon. And if that happened, Israel would have been blown away. And in all fairness to Bibi Netanyahu, who happens to be a good man, gets a little excited sometimes. But he happens to be a very good man. We've had an amazing partnership. He's been an amazing prime minister. We have a little dispute over Lebanon. I say, you can do a little softer touch, Bibi. You don't have to knock down a building every time somebody walks into it that's from Hezbollah. But it's been an amazing partnership. But he will say, we're the big partner and he's the very small partner, and that's true. So he came to the country and he begged Barack Hussein Obama,
Bro, this ranting and raving lunatic, he at least plays his hand there at the end.
Begged Barack Hussein Obama, the president, not to do the JCPOA.
So basically, he's admitting that Netanyahu comes to the United States and begs presidents to continue wars and not to negotiate, and that's exactly what he did with Trump right when they were about to break through with a deal, and they then started a war. I am very glad that Zohran Mamdani came out with moral clarity.
That is my commitment to you.
Very, very glad that the office of the mayor released this video. We're going to continue to push back against these war criminals, against people like Vladimir Putin. This should also apply to Vladimir Putin, who was able to visit the United States on Trump's watch a few months back for a fruitless negotiation. Anybody who has committed war crimes, we need to have moral clarity about, and we will continue to call this out every single day. I love you all. I will see you all in the next video, and peace out.